Hello there, friends and fellow warriors, and welcome to another episode of Brave, Bold, and Unfiltered. I'm Valerie Silvera, and I hope that you will stick with me through this probably shorter episode. Who knows? I never know until I get going. But this is chapter 12, the final chapter of my book, Burn the Map. And I've been going through these chapters because the contents of these chapters are so important. And whether or not you read this book, I really hope that you do and really study it and go back and refer to it later. Whether or not you do that, these episodes are here to give you that same information without you having to even turn a page. But I mean, why do I even care so much? I mean, really, why do I care? I think the most important reason that I do what I do, it's definitely not for the money, because literally I spend money to to help people find their way to freedom. And that's what this chapter's about. This chapter's literally just called Freedom. And I think what I love so much about this book is that it's exactly what I wish I would have had at so many points in my journey, my 24 years. And I'm so glad that I know what I know now, because I know I still have so much more to face in my future. And I have these concepts, I have this information, I have this wisdom, and I have the inspiration from the other snippets of people's stories that I told in this book. I told the various stories. I'm just going to tell you real quickly, because I hope you go back and watch or listen to these episodes again. And just even though they're just little parts of the stories of these individuals, it's really incredible how inspired I am by each of these stories. And these are all people that I know. You know what? I'm going to wait and do that at the end here. What I wanted to do is start out and read to you the first part of this chapter, the final chapter in my book, Burn the Map, Freedom. I want you to really listen to every word of this, because it really is, my heart to yours. Freedom isn't about a free love fest where nobody has a care in the world. Yeah, don't we wish, right? That part's not in the book. That was my side note. It's about finding, okay, I better start all over. I can't even read my own book. Freedom isn't about a free love fest where nobody has a care in the world. It's about fighting for peace when chaos surrounds you. It's about reclaiming your power and choosing courage when fear tries to take the wheel. You only get one shot at this thing called life. And this is it. Not the next chapter, not next year, now. You weren't made to stay stuck in someone else's mess or your own. Whether you've been climbing for a while or standing here bloodied and breathless, wondering if you've got one more fight left in you or ready to go, this is your turning point. Freedom means breaking ties with the shame, regret, guilt, fear, and old patterns that bind you. It means tossing outdated maps and the pressure to meet everyone else's expectations or your own. It means taking down your beast, not negotiating with him, not running from him, standing up, facing him, and fighting back. It's walking away from what broke you and toward what strengthens you. It's living with purpose, with faith, with power, not someday, today. Your pain can be your prison or your platform. It depends on what you decide to do with your journey. I hope those words right there, if you turn this off now and you decide not to even watch or listen to the rest of this message, I hope something in there inspired you that today is the day. We don't have the luxury of unlimited time where we can say, oh, well, we'll just do it another day. I'll start when? After this happens, after I get this together. Let me tell you something, my friend. We're never going to have it all together. You have to do it right now, wherever you are today. You say, today's the day. I'm going to stand up and fight. I'm going to let go of this expectation of what I thought my life would be. I'm going to embrace where it is now, and I'm going to do whatever I can to improve the future. That's all you can do. We cannot go back in the past. What's important here is that you start fighting for freedom. What I mean by that is freedom from your beast. Whatever that beast is that has a hold of you, you know what it is. Might have multiple heads. That thing that has you down, has you lost in hopelessness, helplessness, or living in paralyzing fear. Maybe you feel like a victim. You're covered in shame or guilt. Or maybe you haven't even had anything major happen in your life. You're just not where you want to be. You're not feeling good about your life. You maybe aren't focused on a purpose. I believe we are all wired for purpose. We have to do something in this life that matters. If we don't, there's something left unfulfilled in us. And I don't know what your purpose is. Sometimes I even wonder about mine, but at least I'm marching toward it. I'm trying hard to take what's happened in my life and turn it into good. And I really encourage you to do that, because honestly, had I not done this, had I not done what I've been doing for the last, how many years has it been? 15 years, I guess. I don't know where I'd be today. I don't even want to think about where I'd be today. The next section in this chapter is called Everything Can Be Used for Good. And maybe you've heard me say this before. Everything can be used for good. I didn't say some things. I didn't say only these types of things. I said everything. And I firmly believe that. So how can I sit here and say that? I don't know what you've been through. I can hear some of you saying you don't understand what I've been through, and I don't know your personal story. If I don't know you, or we've never met, of course I don't know your story, but I can sit here with confidence and say I only know from mine. And I know that losing a child is the worst thing imaginable to me, and losing her to murder is somehow, it's a whole nother level of just awfulness. And if I can make it through this and find my way through and find something good in it, then I know whatever you're going through, you can do it too. And so the point is that you have to look for the opportunity, because there's opportunity in everything. I don't think God would allow anything to happen if there weren't a way for you to use it for good. So I can remember that I would hear people say things like everything happens for a reason. Okay. I've said it before too. And I understand that. I really do understand the concept. But I think everything can be used for good makes a lot more sense to me. Because when I look at something like everything happens for a reason, I go, really? A reason? I had to go through absolute hell watching my daughter kill herself. She was shot when she was 18 and almost died. And then she was murdered. And now we're going on the 10th year that we don't even have a trial scheduled yet. I mean, really, what happens is when you hear something like that, it can send you right into victim land, right? You're going, whoa, wait a minute. Why? I said why about 1,000 times until one day I looked at myself in the mirror, literally, and this redhead staring back at me after I said, why me? Said, why not you? Why not you be the one that takes this hell that you're going through? At the time, Jamie hadn't been killed yet. What if you take this and find a way to fight your way out of the darkness, and maybe you can help just one other person do the same? And that's really where it started for me, is people started to say, how are you okay? And I realized that I was doing some things without really realizing it, things that I had learned in my life. And so I put them together in what I now call the 9 Weapons of Hope. And I wrote my first book, Still Standing After All the Tears, 10 years ago. And I shared my story, and more importantly, what I did to keep myself from going under, to keep myself from rolling up in a ball and just forgetting life, giving up on my life. And it started to help people. And then I wrote workbooks, and I've written a couple of other books since then. But this book, Burn the Map, is really kind of, for me, it's such a level past anything else that I've ever written about and talked about. And the most important thing is that you figure out how you can take whatever has happened to you and turn it into good. Here's what I mean by this. Jamie being murdered, or even her addiction, there's nothing inherently good about it. I mean, that's the beast has his claws in you when you're putting poison in your body. Her murder, there's just nothing good about it. So what am I talking about here? What I'm talking about is taking whatever's happened in your life, whatever terrible thing, whatever awful thing, and you package it up with something that is good. I didn't say that I turned whatever happened to me. I didn't turn the last 24 years into something good. I used it for good. And that's the difference. I really encourage you to do the same. Oh, this is the next section I wanted to talk about. When we went to the preliminary hearing, it's been, 2.5 years now. Preliminary hearing, yeah, years after she was murdered, and it's been years since. We learned something we didn't know, that no one had ever told us, and we heard it in testimony. What it was is that on Jamie's last day, earlier in the day, I don't know exactly the time frame, but sometime earlier in that day, one of the women that testified at the preliminary hearing, who testified to Jamie's murder, said that earlier in the day, she was there with Jamie and Jamie's murderer. You notice I never use his name? No, he doesn't get enough credit for me to use his name. The murderer and this woman, Monique, and Jamie were together. And he pulled a gun out and pointed it at Monique's head and pulled the trigger, and the gun jammed. What Jamie did next shocked us. Apparently, she jumped in front of Monique, in front of the gun, and allowed Monique to escape, and was talking this guy down, having no idea, none, that later that day, Jamie would meet the same fate, only this time it would be fatal. The reason I put this story in this book at all, and especially in this chapter on freedom, why in the world would I consider that freedom? After all, look what happened. The point I really wanted to make with this story is that, like I did with those 3 witnesses earlier in the book that had the courage to come and testify, having been threatened, terrified, they stood up and chose courage. And what that shows to me too is that Jamie chose courage. And what it says in all of those stories of all these people that have chosen courage is that that means you can too. I have witnessed courage rising up from the least likely people, the least likely places. So shocking, but at the same time, incredibly inspiring to me. When I look at people that could easily have said no, Jamie could have run. She should have run in that situation, but she stood up and chose courage in that moment. And that really, somehow, it's really interesting because later on, Sean, Rich, and I all said that we had the same feeling at that time. We almost felt proud that Jamie chose courage. And of course, we wish the story would have ended differently. But the point is that you have opportunities all the time to choose courage, not when someone's pointing a gun at you, but just in having a difficult conversation or walking away from a relationship or deciding that you don't want to be a victim anymore or forgiving yourself or forgiving somebody else. We have these opportunities daily, but do we choose fear or do we choose courage? It's always your choice. When I was when I was writing this book, I was interviewing my niece Shawnee, and if you read Burn the Map or have listened to these episodes, you have heard from Shawnee. It was incredible. I mean, obviously, I knew my own niece's story, but interviewing her and hearing her perspectives was really incredible. I'm just so impressed with somebody like Shawnee who has done exactly what I said. Everything can be used for good. No, she hasn't written books. She hasn't gone out and done some great mission. But all it takes is a moment with someone, a moment to inspire them. I can imagine that Shawnee's left so many nuggets, probably some she doesn't even know about, because she decided to choose courage, to free herself from the grip of grief. But when we were interviewing, for some reason, I don't exactly remember why, but Shawnee went over to the wall. We were on the phone, and she went over to the wall of her house where she has this framed collage sort of thing. And she was reading to me off of the memorial program for her brother Shane's death. And she read to me a scripture, the one about having the faith the size of a mustard seed. And I said, Shawnee, you won't believe it. It blew me away, you guys, because 2 days earlier, I was reading the Bible again, only this time at the end of this Bible reading, I decided to start listening to it on my hikes, which is, by the way, a fantastic way to, because I'm a speed reader, and some of the Bible, especially the Old Testament, is really tough to read. I could find myself speed reading through. I can't talk today, past a lot of it. But this way I had to listen, right? But this is the point. Oh my gosh, I'm on this hike and I'm in Matthew and I'm in literally on that verse where Jesus tells his disciples, I'm talking about, the ones that hung out with him all the time and witnessed miracles. He told them, imagine what he just say to me. He told them that if you had faith, even the size of a mustard seed, you could tell that mountain to move from here to there and it would. And I stopped. You know how many times I've heard that scripture and read it? So many times. But it's one thing to live it. Hearing it and then living it, two different things. I stopped. I literally, my boots stopped on the trail. And I said out loud to myself, Valerie, why don't you have that kind of faith? I had this moment on the trail. And then Shawnee brings up the same exact scripture 2 days later. What a trip, right? So what I wrote in here, because here's what I wrote about that. In case you're wondering about the odds of hearing that exact scripture again just 2 days after it stopped me in my tracks, I haven't done the math, but consider this. There are nearly 800,000 words in some versions of the Bible. That's not random. That was not a coincidence. That was divine. You don't have to figure everything out today. You don't have to know where you're going. When I wrote Still Standing After All the Tears, it was after my lowest point. And you've heard me say this many times, probably, if you've been following my messaging or reading my books. When I found myself standing in my kitchen and said to my husband, Rich, I don't want to be here anymore. That was my lowest point. I had no idea where I was going or how I was going to get there. I just knew in that moment I couldn't live that way. It wasn't fair to my son, Sean. It wasn't fair to Rich. It wasn't fair to Jamie. It wasn't fair to me, my friends, my family, or all the people I would meet on my journey through life. I just knew, but I didn't have anything figured out. Zero, zip, zilch. And a couple of years later, I wrote that book. So you don't have to have it all figured out either, but have a little faith. Maybe faith the half of the size of a mustard seed. That's all you need to make things happen in your life for you to become free. So this is how I ended this chapter, but don't turn this off yet because I want to just share a little something else with you before I close out. This is my message to you, your mission. You've felt the pain. You've walked through fire. Remember, I dedicated this book to anyone who's walked through fire. I dedicated this book to you. You've lived with your beast long enough. Now it's time to take a giant leap forward. So this is your mission. Do you remember, I guess there's been Mission Impossible movies, but I've never seen them. I just remember the Mission Impossible show from way back when, I don't know, it must have been the 60s, when they had the tape, right? He had the tape that would say, here's your mission if you choose to accept it. And then the tape would kind of burn up. This is your mission: to confront the pain and use it for good, to show up when it's hard, to face down your beast and live with seed-sized faith and warrior-sized courage, to be the kind of light you once needed. You don't need a perfect plan, just the courageous, battle-tested heart that you already have. One that turns setbacks into strength and fear into jet fuel. One that dares to step boldly into the unknown. It is your God-given right and responsibility to go out into the world and shine your light. Someone out there is walking in darkness, clutching the ashes of a map that failed them and praying for hope. You can be the answer to that prayer. Remember that your story matters, so live it courageously and write the rest of yours with a pen that's on fire. And then, you know how I ended this book? I just thought, I wonder if you wonder. As for the warriors you met along the way, I really can't tell you exactly how their stories will unfold. I mean, really, none of us can, right? But that's not the point. Here's what matters. April continues to live in gratitude as a reminder that fear doesn't get the final say. Shawnee shines her light, fueled by courage and seed-sized faith she found in the fire. Sandy walks with steady courage, grounded in the peace she fought to find, one brave step at a time. Kaylin lives with surrendered strength and anchored in the truth that her worth was never in question. Johnny keeps proving that real warriors aren't fearless. They're the ones who feel the fear and jump anyway. Nikki continues to show up with quiet strength, helping us honor the story she chose to be a part of. Mona no longer runs after life. She walks with it in courage, free from the weight of old wounds. Do you need to be free from the weight of old wounds? Most of us do. Sarah leads forward, loving who she sees in the mirror and helping other women rediscover their worth. Annelle lives with joy, even with grief humming just below the surface, shaped by love, loss, hope, and faith. Donna uses the strength of her magic heart to help others find a lighthouse in their storm. Sean, that's my son, friends. Sean is igniting his faith and becoming the kind of man his sister would be even prouder of than she already was. His courage and transformation make him a hero to his hero. Rich, that's my husband, remains the steady, faithful wingman, standing with me and Sean through thick and thin, not because he has to, but because he chose to. As for the three witnesses who stood up when we needed them, I don't know where life has taken them, but I pray they're no longer weighted down by their beasts. And as for this warrior, I'm still standing with unbreakable courage. I keep burning maps that no longer serve me or others. I honor the hole in my magic heart and use it to light the way for others. I still carry faith the size of a mustard seed. And every time my beast comes knocking, I answer the door with a flamethrower. I hope you will learn when your beast knocks on your door to answer it with a flamethrower.